Lofty SEO made simple.
Google is giving away free leads. Here's how to get yours.
Okay, so we're here talking about Lofty SEO with Chris Harden, a Lofty SEO expert. Chris, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background? Chris is also a licensed realtor and a user of the Lofty platform, and he's built many SEO-oriented sites to drive traffic organically.
So my background has been in web development and it's kind of evolved over time and then it's come back around. I got into real estate so that I could work different deals. I've always been the internet marketer and I've always brought deals to people, but then I saw how much money they were making and I wanted some of that. That's how I got into it. But basically for the last 7 years, I've run Facebook ads with listings. So I pivoted last November and never looked back. And it's just kind of like 20 years in the making coming together. It's all the things I didn't know how to do. Now it's kind of packaged together. It's pretty cool to see.
And Chris, what's your strategy then with SEO? Because you're leaning now, sounds like away from paid Facebook ads, more into organic SEO.
My first year in real estate, I did just like everybody else. It was shooting videos and whatnot. But what I did is I niched into neighborhoods and I pretty much found people in all the neighborhoods along Main Street. I got about 30 neighborhood ride-alongs and I asked them, how did you find this place? What do you like about it? What would you change? Why are you still here? Stuff like that. It was all about them. It wasn't about me at all. And I wanted to create it in such a way that it was shareable and they can go in their Facebook group and be like, hey, Betty in the yellow house across from the pool house. Nice to meet you, whatever. So it was more shareable. So I did that. And then I started building a website to house that because I didn't have the call to action together. You don't know what you don't know. I just know I was doing the thing consistently and adjusting each time, trying to get better with it. I ended up building a website to house all of those videos because it made more sense when it was, contextual. It was neighborhoods versus YouTube. Both of them are searchable. But what I found through that is I started popping up for all these different neighborhoods that other people weren't. So I was like, I'm on to something. Let's go deeper. Let's go deeper. So I found that it's more about the questions that people actually ask versus the listings. You can go find houses anywhere, but you can't find information about that specific neighborhood or community or the things around the neighborhood or the schools or anything like that. You can go to Reddit perhaps, but you won't get real information. So I made it like a goal to fill the gap with that. And that's kind of my content strategy.
So how do you help realtors currently, and who is your typical real estate professional that you help with this strategy?
So my ideal person is someone that's had success with YouTube and then they decide they want a website so that they can get a couple more slots in search results. I help any agent that is interested in niching down. The ones that say I just serve anybody with a breath, they're not there yet. Once you niche into something, you realize they come to you and they start recognizing you around the community and stuff. And once they kind of see that, they're like, oh, okay. There's a lot of smarter people that are doing, far less than the dumb people, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But the dumb people, me, figured out to just focus on one thing until you can't get it wrong.
So how would you recommend someone that was new to this strategy getting started? Should they start with video? Should they go out with their phone? Do they need any equipment?
Everybody's got a different journey. What I like about blogging, you don't have to be in a video. It's search-based content. So as long as you're answering the question, you're answering it better than anybody else, you're going to be on the front page. I would say step one, get hyper local, because some people are willing to drive an hour away. 1 hour away could be 10 miles or it could be 50 miles. Just start talking about the things that you do and your family do, and you'll find people that are like you that like trails and, parks and playgrounds and stuff like that. So just use your life to start the content wheel.
Do you recommend people do keyword research before they go and make content, or should they just start making content in their hyperlocal area with things that they know and like to do?
I just started with what I like to do, and I found out that I was filling some gaps that other people weren't filling. But now I go and I look at the top 5 competitors, and they may be realtor.com or Zillow or whoever, but they're not talking about this community stuff. In a roundabout way, if you have no plan, just be you and do you, and you'll fill the gaps pretty good. But now I use AI to help me find those content gaps so that I have a hit list, that there's no guessing to it. If I do XYZ, I should get the same result every time. I don't care what city it is.
So you use AI. How do you do that? You have a conversation with it and ask it to give you scrape the web for some data that it feeds back to you and get a strategy from that?
You can get way deeper now. There's a lot of other platforms you can feed it data and stuff like that. Figure out out who the top 5 competitors are. If you type in, this community, like Woodstock, Georgia, anything you Google Woodstock, Georgia, I'm going to pop up, because my initial plan with that was like, it's better than buying a park bench or a billboard. If you look for golf carts in Woodstock, Georgia, there I am. I'm telling you how to get your sticker for your golf cart so you can ride around downtown. Like, you can't miss me. And that's kind of what helped me build the authority. And when you're the authority of the city, then you can talk about anything. Like, you can't just hit it straight on with real estate.
Be the digital mayor of that hyperlocal area and dive deep into anything and everything about it, it sounds like, right, is what you'd recommend.
But do it search-based, right? Because just putting a video out, like on Facebook or Instagram, who knows who will see it? Like, when you're intentional, you sit down and you're like Googling something, you want to answer. Same thing with YouTube. You want an answer. Like, I'm invested. I want an answer. I believe that I'll find my answer on the other side of that. If I can be the answer to that, then like, you instantly build trust.
So when you do make, let's say, a video or a blog post, you'll go and search for it on Google first and make sure that there's a gap there, that it's got some search volume, but it's not really being answered adequately.
Google Search Console is going to give you the best data ever. When you put something out, it starts telling you how people found it and what kind of impressions you get and clicks. So it's like the first signal that, cool, I'm there, but I'm like number 50 or something. So that gives me an indicator that if it was better, I could probably do better. If you install Google Search Console and just let it be for a while and then go look at it, it gives you indicators of where you should go. But if you just have a basic website out of the box and you signed up and you put your logo on there, there's not going to be any data. So you got to put something out there and see where it lands.
How would you recommend using this strategy with a lofty website that's provided by, let's say, Real or LPT or EXP now? This is becoming a very popular platform.
Well, the first thing, you want to make sure that it's actually yours, that it's tied to your domain. Because if it's a subdomain, you're just doing work. It's like a Keller Williams website. You'll never get found. You're helping build them up or you're tearing them down with bad content, either way. But if your domain is connected, then you're like step one. Once your domain's connected, then pick your area. I've got a couple of YouTube videos where I like take a website and tear it apart. That's what's cool about y'all, is y'all make it pretty. I don't make it pretty. I'm a fan of get found before you make it pretty. Everybody spends so much time making it pretty, but nobody ever sees it.
Yeah, and I think where a good match is, where people should be thinking is, here at Chime Nerds, we build IDX websites, not subdomains, right? It has to be your own website, like you talked about, where you own it. You're building on your own land. But we also advocate for your strategy of making content to drive traffic to that site. And it's important to understand, once they do come to that lofty IDX website, you're basically giving them your own personal Zillow. So now they can search around on that website for, if they're ready to look at properties, they can look at properties there. And you want to get them to know, like, and trust you through the content and get them there first, basically be the alternative. Now you're completing the circle.
So to be clear, you're building the content out through a blog post. So like, the homepage is not really the front door like you think it is. The content drives it in, and they may or may not ever see your homepage. As you're Googling, like when I do different cities, I see similarities, and I came across homeandmoney.com. And if you type in /sitemap.xml, it'll show you all your pages. Well, they're invested in all these different cities around about, and like, they have the similar topics: pros and cons of living here, cost of living here. I'm like, there's something to that. Why not try that? So that's kind of where I began. But also last week I came across Hyundai, like a car dealership. They're doing the same thing. And as I was doing stuff in Alpharetta, same thing, except it was a dentist. I was like, there's something to this, because it's kind of like a backdoor to build your authority locally in that city, and then you can rank anything you like. But you got to have that community part to be like hyper local.
Once you establish yourself as the digital mayor, then you could build the audience first and your authority, like you said, and then you could sort of leverage that and send them to wherever you like.
I built a website in the last 30 days. Didn't exist 30 days ago. And if you go to ChatGPT and say, give me the top 5 websites in that area for live, work, play, real estate, like, they're outranking all of them now for that. So like, when AI starts referencing you, these other guys go write blog posts similar to you, different spaces, but similar. You instantly get backlinks because they're referencing what you're saying. Storage unit guys and movers, this is their play. Googling all these different cities, you'll see movers are killing it and storage unit guys are killing it. Realtors are nowhere to be found because they don't have this strategy. So I just kind of saw a gap there.
So that's an interesting point. Realtors are behind the game from storage units and movers that that already have figured out this strategy and are using it. That's true. When I Google some areas, I come across a lot of movers and storage. And I guess that's why they figured this out, huh?
Most people just think, cool, I want to generate a lead for me. But what if I can get a partnership with them and get paid to send them somebody? That's even better. So it's like, why not go to the people that are involved in the transaction? You're going to need an insurance guy. You're going to need a lender. You're going to need a mover. Why not partner with those guys and be like, look what I did. Y'all want to throw some in? And you're not committing forever, but it's like, hey, I'll put your little banner here. That's an easy way to fund your venture.
How would you work that into your strategy then? Use them for backlinks or send each other traffic? Or
if you go Google any of those things I was talking about in Woodstock, that's appealing to most anybody that has a service-based business, which is a lot. So even if you Google, how much does it cost to paint a room? Guess who's there? Me. So that's where I want to monetize in the future. I want to find those different relationships bigger and bigger, because ultimately, like, I'm not selling real estate. I'm passing the leads off to friends, right? To friends that I trust, that I don't have to babysit and I don't have to chase. It enables you to get referenced and shared in many different ways. So say you're in a coastal town, people come travel there for Airbnb. What's the first thing they go Google? What can I eat around here? Where's the best food at? Who delivers to this neighborhood? If it's a gated neighborhood, good luck. One pizza guy knows how to get through, the other guy don't. And there's a specific. They may let the one guy through or may not. So like, think about it that way. What is the most valuable thing you can create that you can go to all those Airbnb guys and say, hey, reference us, link to us for your menu, for places to eat, reviews, whatever, things to do. If you take it from that approach, now you just created a big web of backlinks.
you recommend creating this content then maybe through video, but if you're not comfortable on video, then you could do it, through written word blog posts?
Everything I do is blog posts. That's where, like, my Woodstock website, I'm about to rebrand it as a partnership with my friend that's built his brand, and he's all about video.
Lofty websites now have SEO module built into it. It will have a little dial that'll say you're 26% done, 42% done, and it's prompting the user to do more things on the site, like put keywords in or H1, H2 tags. We call it technical SEO, but it also does some useful things like prompting you to do your Google My Business. We'll talk about that.
Some of the suggestions are good as far as like linking up your Google My Business and your YouTube and stuff like that. That's a signal to Google that, hey, this guy is also all these things. He's not just like make believe. Otherwise, I've always been a fan of each page has its own settings. And from what I've gathered, Google reads each page that way. So that back-end suggestion stuff is more of a suggestion thing, just to ensure that you move instead of just sit still. You don't have to hit the 100%. But now there's like a new thing at the bottom that I just saw the other day, and I'm like, that's even deeper. Like, that could be overwhelming, or it could be like a good push. So I get where they're going with it, but I focus page by page, because ultimately, like, my goal is get you to that one page, because that one page could drive me 200 clicks or 300 clicks a month. So the site as a whole would get way more traffic off that one page than the whole thing.
You would focus more on an individual page than an entire site-wide technical SEO of the entire site.
I mean, you want to get your homepage set up, correct? But that is page by page too, right? A lot of that in the back end, I feel like, are suggestions to get you moving, because like most users don't know that that's a thing, and it's a good suggestion and it helps guide them in the right direction, but it's not going to tell them how to do it. It's going to ask some questions to help make it a little easier. But like keywords in general, Google kind of ignores that. They read the page content, because before you can be like red Ferrari and give them a red Honda Civic, and that used to work. And then they're like, no, if you do that again, we're not going to give you opportunity to do that anymore. So keywords are not really a thing anymore, not as far as filling out a box and being like, these are my keywords. If you want to rank for those keywords, put it in the page itself. Like the H1 is the most important, the title tag and the description. Those three things move the ball. But sprinkled throughout the page, you can have all these other keywords. Top 10 neighborhoods in this city. Each one of those neighborhoods is a keyword. And if you go look at your Google Search Console, you'll see, are these keywords driving traffic in there? Or is it just that, top 10 neighborhoods or top neighborhoods? So it gives you an indicator. And if it is moving it, go back in, sprinkle some more. But then I break it down into link back into search results too, because you can filter into the search results for that.
What he's saying, I think, is to make links from that page for more information, right? Don't let that be the end of the line when somebody is searching.
You have internal links, links that go inbound to other pages you have, to other blog posts, to search results, to anything that's on your site. So most people frown on the outbound, but I found it's way easier to build authority when you're going outbound, because you can make a link that opens in a new tab. It doesn't take them away from your website. But if I'm talking about, say, the golf cart thing, right? Well, if I just tell you about it, then I just leave you hanging. But if I link to go get the form and fill it out, then I solve the problem.
So you'll make a link to, let's say, a golf cart.
So like in that example, it is, how do I get a permit for my golf cart so I can drive it like downtown? Because we have like an area that you can drive in and it's like mapped out, but you got to have a little sticker or you'll get a ticket. So like basically that tells you that, and then it has a link to go get your sticker. If I just told you that it was a thing and left you hanging, you're going to hit back and then Google, how do I get the sticker again? But because I give you the link, I tell you to go get the sticker, and then I might reference that insurance guy. So, hey, Bob can get you insurance on your golf cart, as you should check your home rates too. There's kind of like a ratio. I try to have 5 outbound links and 5 inbound is where I start. At the end of the day, as you have more and more content, I want to have at least 10 inbound links on every post, because if you go looking at the competitor, Google shows you what they're doing, right? It tells you how many words they have on the page. It tells you how many inbound and outbound links they have. It tells you their title tag versus yours. So it's really easy to compare me to them and be like, yeah, theirs is way more clear than mine is. ChatGPT, you can say, hey, compare my title tag to them, and I want more clicks. So let's make it more engaging. How can I change my title and my description? Because that's what they're going to find when they Google whatever it is. How can I make mine better than that one? I use it like a consultant and ask, It doesn't necessarily have the right answer, but if I change it and I see a move, I'm going in the right direction. Then I can go back and be like, well, cool, they have 8 outbound links and I've only got 4. How can I make mine more contextual? It's not always better to have more outbound links, but if I'm talking about something and I just leave you hanging and you have to hit the back button, that's a signal to Google I wasn't a good resource. So at the end of the day, you want to be the best answer to the question. You can go take the top 3 competitors, feed that in and say, give me an outline based on that. I want to beat these guys because number 1's got something number 3 don't have, and number 2 has something that none of them have. And then let's add my perspective because I live here. So now I've got like a unique combo that realtor.com, they don't know what it's like to live here. And you got like the ultimate answer that way. That's the formula that gets you the front page pretty quickly.
And that right there, folks, really is a winning formula for beating Zillow and Realtor.com, which we talk a lot about on our channels. Quit Zillow, quit Realtor.com, do it on your own, build your own brand, drive your own leads, build your own audience. This is a great way to do it. You said it yourself. Zillow and Realtor.com simply cannot do this. This does not scale. But what you're talking about here, this is how we, the little guys, beat the big guys. That's how we beat the Walmarts and the Amazons and the Zillows of the world, by being the small business, local boutique provider that provides that white glove experience. And we live in this community too, and we can provide the information that they can't.
This is your digital property. If it's all about bob.com, well, guess what? You have to sell it to another Bob. But if it's like neighborhoods of Woodstock.com or like something more generic that way, then all we got to do is put your logo on it and replace your bio with mine, or vice versa. If you look at it that way, you're putting a lot of time into this and it compounds over time. So why not build it where you could pass the torch and get paid later? Just like if you were to buy a house and flip it. Same thing, except it's digital and you don't have to go sweat.
What should I do with my .com? Because when they come to us and sometimes they need a lofty website, they have to go pick their own domain. They say, should it be my name or should it be the area? People are searching for these areas. Try to grab the area. Is that what you would recommend?
Ultimately, you can't rank for something that's not on the page. So you're still going to pop up for your name because it's a brand search, right? It's your name. There might be 5 Bob Thompsons, but in this specific city, there's not. If you look at it that way, just focus on your city or neighborhood. So I have a buddy that built one just for his neighborhood. The neighborhood's Bridge Mill. He now rents that site out for $10,000 a year because he doesn't necessarily want to chase the leads, which they're way better leads because they're coming to him. They're signing up for a VIP list versus, coming in through search and getting trapped and hoping the email works and all of that. That's where your content, you're leading them down the line of, cool, he answered my question. I bet he probably help me with this next thing, buying a house or selling the house. Answer that question, but have that next step in line. And that's like where you'll have call to actions that are direct, because a lot of people are fans of the punch you in the face, forced registration. That's like old school. You punch me in the face, I'm going somewhere else. And if I had the back button, that's a sign to Google to just knock you out, you know? So a lot of people either leave that wide open and leave it to me to reach out, because I may not want all the phone calls and stuff. Some people want to call, some people want to text, some people want to email. Give them a variety of different ways to get in touch with you versus just punch them in the face with a form and hope that that works. It's a way warmer conversation and you'll convert a lot more leads that way.
Lead with value. Figure out how you can provide value without asking anything in return. What do people want, and how can you show up and be a guide for them? Give them what they're searching for without asking for a commission yet. The commission will come, right? But real estate is a long-term game. It might be 6 months down the line. It might be 48 months down the line before they're ready. But when they do, if you've built trust all that time, they will trust you, right? We've been building on Lofty. There was a big kerfuffle on the forums where somebody probably hired an SEO guy like you, and they ran Screaming Frog on one of their Lofty sites, right? Which went through and found all the links and where some things were broken, and kind of pulled the fire alarm on the Lofty Chime forums where everyone was talking, and said that the Lofty website is not SEO compatible. It's no good for SEO. And everybody was asking, what about my site? Is it good for SEO? And everybody hears that SEO is free traffic. So that's what they want. So they sort of panicked. We got involved with it because my clients were coming and asking me. I went back and spoke to some of my contacts inside the Lofty organization, and they explained that it was probably because of some security settings on the servers that were clamping down and not allowing the Screaming Frog crawler to ping it too many times, and it blocked it and things like that. Long story short, out of that came the module that you see now. Their response was to make that little dial and that little module that I see on the site now that's prompting you to do this, that, and the other to make your site SEO compatible. So it's giving people what they want to assuage their fears about it not being SEO compatible, but it's also giving them things to do that it's a lot of busy work. We have clients that say, well, I thought you were going to build the website. What about all these, SEO things? For our basic package, we do not include technical SEO. If you want to hire Chris, he could do the technical SEO, because we focus on building the best possible IDX website that's pretty good out of the box. It already puts in some title tags for the cities and the neighborhoods, through the coding already. But basically, this is a long way to say we recommend to our clients, don't overthink that recommendation dial. Those are, like Chris said, more suggestions. Don't freak out about it. Some of our clients do freak out about it, kind of panic, and oh my God, it keeps telling me to do something. And what should I be doing, Steve? Focus on creating content. Focus on giving value. A lot of these keyword stuffing that they're recommending is going to kind of take care of itself.
Ultimately, you can go to Google and type in site your domain, and it will show you all the pages that are indexed. That's step one. Right above that, it says join Search Console. You want to do that because then you get all the data that I'm talking about. And then you can get more, you should make decisions with data. You shouldn't just make them because I feel like that's a good idea. Once you connect that Google Search Console, by doing that, you can better optimize based on data versus what you think people are searching, because it's going to show you this page is getting impressions for that keyword. It may not be getting any clicks, but it's pretty close. It might be page 11 or 12. Like Google Search Console on the back end, each page that gets viewed in the search result, it will show impression, clicks, and then the ranking where it's at. Well, it makes it pretty easy to go find opportunity. So anything that's 100 or less, I see as opportunity. I start with the things that say you're in the 20 or 30 spot, because those are easy fixes, because I can go compare what's number 1, 2, and 3 saying. Let me just change my title tag and see where I land. That's an easy, let's try it test. Because right now, you've invested all this time in this thing that you think's great, and it's kind of there, but it's not optimized to be there. And if you go compare and go tweak a little things, you'll see it move up.
Have you ever done any build outs with the neighborhood pages in Lofty or linked to them? So the structure of the Lofty sites are, some basic pages that are built with blocks, but there's also some dynamic pages that are powered with data from Home Junction. And they do give you the ability to add more content to those pages. pages. They're already powered by data from Home Junction, like demographics, even temperature, schools, businesses, listings in the area. A lot of really good data. Is there a place for that in your strategy?
That would be more one of those inbound links, because all of that stuff is kind of like duplicate content. Say they have 10,000 users and, 300 of them in your city use Lofty. Well, each one of their neighborhood pages are going to pull the same data. So to Google, they're like, we don't care. There's nothing special about it. But like your blog post can lead into that. If you're referencing a data point per se, instead of like linking out to somebody else that gave you the data, link into your own data, because that's like a good sign that we're feeding it data too. And like Google likes new information per se. They like it worded different ways. Anytime you can give Google like a new data point that they don't have, you get instant gratification. So if they're saying it one way and you can reword it a different way that's like more unique as a stat, especially like with a site that you've already built out more authority with, they're just like, oh, this guy's great. He's just telling us all the things, Why would we go anywhere else?
And what's your thoughts on the blog platform that comes with Lofty? It does have its own blog. Have you ever tried those pages or built on that? How would you compare that to the WordPress that you use?
One of the accounts that I have, it is actually WordPress. They've just skinned it with their own stuff, because I have one account and it's very user challenging. We never like complained about it to be like, hey, why is it not doing this? I've just learned how to navigate it. It's basically like a multi-site WordPress install on the back end. That's why they made it like easy for the user with just, their input boxes.
Back in the day when we started in 2018 with Lofty, they were using WordPress for the blog. You could actually log in through your Lofty, used to be called Chime, through your Chime login, and then it would go into a WordPress interface. And then somewhere along the line, 2019, 2020, they came out with their own blog module. They sunset away from the WordPress. So is that what you're describing? Somebody probably had that old legacy one?
It's just more user friendly. It's very simple. But at the same time, like WordPress is like a rocket ship. You can start with a box and you can turn it into anything you want because it has plugins to build out. For the basic user, you don't need that and you don't know what that is. They've simplified it. All you want to do is title, subject, description, content. Like that's all you need to know. Upload some images, featured image, and you're good to go. They've just simplified it.
How would you compare that then with somebody that was going to build a WordPress site then? Because from our perspective, been using WordPress since it first came out 20 years ago. We usually steer our clients away from WordPress. It's built with plugins. Each plugin is its own little database. They don't usually talk to each other. They got to be updated. There's security flaws. You're signing up for a lot when you get into a WordPress site, unless you have somebody that can maintain it and run it for you.
I do like WordPress better though, because of I can control robots.txt. In basic form, robots.txt is Google's file that they look at and it says, hey, you can crawl this, but you can't crawl that. Some Lofty websites, they'll let listings get indexed, and that's awesome because now you got like 20, 30, 50,000 pages indexed. So that just kind of helps give you a little boost, especially when you got your own content, and that's great. But then on the other ones, they don't index the listings. I wish there was a way to be like, hey, I only want my area indexed, because some of them you'll get leads from 2 hours away and you'll be like, why? And it's nothing you did. They just Googled their address and yours was there because nobody else. There's no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of more of a smaller area, I guess. It's just kind of like, that's what I've seen like in the past. They're like, why am I getting leads from 2 hours away? And that's the only answer I could have is, they found their house and then they're trying to get like a, what is my home worth type thing. So they go Google their address to see what pops up, and yours just happens to pop up. A better solution is if they would do it on a case-by-case basis and be like, cool, they've invested time and energy in becoming the best thing here, and have some kind of bar. And if they do that, let's index their listings in that city, because that would just help boost them even higher.
And can you explain how the robot.txt file enables you to do that? Maybe explain what that is and why that's important.
Basically, what a robot.txt file is it's just saying, do not crawl this stuff. Otherwise, go to town. So if you look at any of them, most of them, you type in the domain /robots.txt, you'll see do not crawl /listings is how it works. So like with WordPress, same thing. Like there's an admin part to it, and it's like, don't crawl that because you don't need to go find that. That's for me to log in. I don't need all that stuff indexed. I need my content indexed.
And probably you would want to, like you said, exclude the listings. Those are just going to be muddying the water, right? There's no need for the crawlers to crawl the listings and index you.
Well, they are, but I think it would be cooler if we could be granular. I think if there was some kind of checkpoint, cool, they have added value to their website. Say they have 25 blog posts and they're very specific on this city. Let's let them crawl the listings in that city. Not all the listings for the whole state, but just their city, because that would help that person that's invested time and energy in ranking and outranking Zillow and Realtor and all these other guys. That would just help boost them even more so.
So going back to the comparison with the Lofty blog and the WordPress blog, have you ever built up any blogs? What are the advantages of building on WordPress over building on the Lofty platform? I mean, one of them, you don't own it. You're renting Lofty, right? You don't own that website probably. You're renting it from Lofty and probably from your brokerage.
I use Lofty for search results, but I build it into an iframe that would keep them engaged in the one site. Like I'm experimenting with that because in that case, they're already paying for ads to drive them to Lofty for that. And my goal is to like eliminate that because this other content's going to start outranking it. And I'll be like, look, you get more clicks and more signups this way, or you get more outreaches than you do signups, the forced registration. I want to say it's like 250-ish is kind of the average cost per click across like all of the areas. But if you can create a couple blog posts and get like 100 clicks a month for what you could pay for that traffic one time, you could get it every month.
You do need impressions, clicks, exposure out there from wherever you can get it in order for the funnel to work the way that it needs to work. The conversion rate is roughly around 1% or maybe a half of 1% for all the impressions and leads coming in versus what ends up being a deal at the closing table. So you really do have to put yourself out there in multiple ways with content, with organic expert blog posts like this, where you're giving value, right? And get those impressions and clicks.
Well, I would say, I mean, you're tracking it based on a paid per click for like that percentage and then a time frame. If you just look at it from Google Search Console and I have this organic traffic, how many people called me? How many people filled this form out? Like gauge it on that and do the comparison because they need the different channels to pick from. They don't want a phone call. Some of them, they just want to text you. Others rather talk to you than call you. So if you can measure those different metrics, then you can see what's really working. And like one channel may convert way better than others. So with 55 plus neighborhoods, they'd rather pick up the phone. So if you're not there to pick up the phone, you're missing it. I'm that guy that don't answer the phone because I don't want to be on the phone. I'm the text guy. So you need something to bridge the gap. If you're going to have a phone number, you need somebody to answer the phone. If you don't want to answer the phone, you need a way that they can fill a form out or Calendly or something else where there's a process to scheduling an appointment with me.
Now, do you do all that on WordPress or do you link it back to the Lofty system or how would you do that?
I do it on, so I've been experimenting. Homeandmoney.com is one of those websites that I came across that said, hey, they've got these blog posts in all these different cities and states. And they've got this cool little embed tool that is basically a qualifier. It's like, you're reading the content. It's like you're looking to buy or sell. And when you click on it, it continues to qualify you. After I saw that, I was like, well, let's make it even easier. So I'll make like a little banner with their head and say, click here to call me. And then maybe in the footer, I might say, click here to text me. It's the same banner, but I'm using different code to fire differently. It's giving them different options versus just one thing. Like once you have a conversation, we know where we're going, then you can go set up a search and we can talk about it. Otherwise, you're just curious. You just want to go fishing and that pond ain't there. My info was wrong. And you'll get phone calls, so you better get your content right. Because I've had those phone calls too, where I did actually answer the phone. He's like, I'm just in town for the week and I was looking for a place to go fishing. This park does not have a pond. I'm like, oh, I need to get with my intern. I was like, whoops. So you can't trust writing with AI. You need to fact check all of that. But that's the fastest way to get a phone call is to be wrong. I would make that part of onboarding, and whatever you ask me along the way, let's fill the boxes out with that. Like don't give the user that because they don't know what that means. And that's just overwhelming. And now their brain's thinking about this instead of selling houses. So like if they could just make that part of the onboarding, what areas do you serve? Give me your profiles, whatever. It'd be a smoother process and we'd just like be like, cool, they checked the box. It doesn't take a lot of effort or energy to get it right as far as searching for your name. You should pop up for your name somewhere in there because you have a bio. And if you do it right with the H1 tag, and it's like Chris Harden Realtor, sexy title you want for them. They're specialists. Just put that in the H1 tag and put it in the title tag. You can leave the description blank and it will grab from the page. But typically, like if you're going to have a lot of content, what y'all are doing is not necessarily content with words. So you're not going to have a description. If you do have words, grab that first paragraph, because that first paragraph should get to the point. It should answer the question. Whatever the title is, it should be enticing enough for me to click it, to go to look at it, you know? So that's ultimately like the easy win with that. A lot of people, their homepage, they want Keller Williams. Who cares? Move to Woodstock. That's what people are looking for. That's a key word. Keller Williams, that doesn't get you paid. Do what gets you paid.
Don't assume that everyone's coming in through your homepage. Just because that's your front door, they're not coming in through the front door. We have a competitor named Cherie Young. Have you seen her? She charges like $5,000 for this super sexy homepage. And then the rest of the site is like, there's nothing there. Whereas we go to all this trouble and build out all these other pages. And yeah, we make a sexy homepage too, but we use the drag and drop tools to just build, with what we got. We deliberately do that to keep the costs low.
You use the native approach, which is great, because what she does is basically plug code in that overwrites it. So as I go in there and try to add a module, my module's not ever going to show because her stuff's blocking it.
But she gives a super sexy homepage, and that's what some realtors, especially the ones in LA or Orange County or whatever, they love that, right? And we're like, don't worry about most of your traffic shouldn't be coming through your homepage anyway. It should be coming in through all these landing pages and blog posts and content that you're creating and putting out to the world. And then this is the hub that you're driving the traffic back to. So I think that was one of the takeaways I want to make is don't obsess about your homepage. I always use the word Sistine Chapel. Like, let's not build the Sistine Chapel and spend $5,000 to build the Sistine Chapel for your homepage. Let's instead, I'd rather see you spend your time. I think what you and I do in a different way, create content, create value, put a lot of different stuff out there and meet the consumer where they are questioning and what they need, give them what they fill gaps. Yeah. I think that's one of the takeaways was the homepage, don't obsess about, let's not build the Sistine Chapel for the homepage. That might not be where the traffic's coming from anyway. I think you make a good point. That would be a good takeaway about it should be easy to rank for these lofty sites for your name. You might not rank for homes for sale in Miami. That's going to be Zillow every time. You can rank for your name or rank for the individual hyperlocal areas within Miami, because Miami's a giant area. I think Miami might be tough because there's a lot of competition for that. But like you said, you'd have to make it better than theirs. I guess use AI to make it better, right?
You don't have to be the smartest. You just have to go deeper. And it's all right if you say, I don't know. You can't say that in writing, but in general, it's good to say, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Let me get back to you. As far as in the context of this, I would say number one takeaway, get hyper local. Be in your neighborhood, your back door, your city. Number two, I wouldn't stress the suggestions on the SEO too much, because there are suggestions just to help get you to fill out some things that are required that will help you rank a little better, but they're not just going to make you number one. They're not even going to get you on the first page. But what that does is it gives Google an idea of what is the target, because you can't rank for what you don't have. So like step one is, where are we going? And that's kind of what they're trying to get you to. Homepage, be hyper focused on your area and be very, very simple, because it's not the front door anymore. They're coming through the window and they're coming through the back door, and they got ladders coming up the side. They're coming from all angles if your content's good. I have a DIY where I teach you how to do all this stuff in an hour in a masterclass. I teach you the concepts of SEO so that you're not just shooting in the dark. You can learn more about that at SEOin1hour.com. Spell the one out. For done for you options, just reach out to me. You can shoot me a text, 706-264-8088.
And we are Chime Nerds. If you have any questions about your Lofty CRM, your Lofty website, you need help with Lofty campaigns, chimenerds.com.